Okay, so here we are. Just finished the add or the plus, the plus demo. And now we're going to move on to the minus demo. I know that it will come up, right? In Photoshop, if you haven't realized this already, there's so many different ways to do one thing. So I'm showing you, one way to do it or two ways to do it, and you can easily Google, you know, the same thing, and they'll show you a different way to do it. And that's the beauty of these programs. But hopefully, you just get started and then you can expand your skill sets. So, all right, so we've got our same Photoshop layer. I'm gonna minimize this since the next thing that we're doing is going to be minus. I took a picture of this wall. Okay, so I'm going to select this picture. I'll take all of it. I'm going to select all of this with my marquee tool. I'm going to go to edit copy, Command C, and I'm going to turn off my plus layer. So here's my PSD, right? And I'm going to paste, edit, paste into my Photoshop layer. Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to go to, I did edit, free transform, right? So I did the key command, Command T, and I'm going to scale this picture in, make it a little bit smaller so it fits and I can show you the different parts. Okay, and I'm going to hit return to apply the manipulation. And for minus, you have a couple options. There is a cloning tool here. It's called a clone stamp tool. To show you that, I'm going to make a copy of this so you can kind of compare. And so here is clone. And the other one I'll keep right here. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. Right, so whatever photo you have, here's your clone tool. So the premise of this is you are going to, okay. For the clone stamp tool, what it wants you to do is it actually wants you to tell it what, this is the area you want to clone, but what do you want to replace it with? Okay, so when you go to your clone stamp tool, you can't just click on it because it's going to say, it couldn't use it because it doesn't know what to clone. Okay, so it tells you right here, option click to define a source point. Okay, so this is what I want to replace. I kind of want it just to be replaced with this wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my option key and my mouse turns kind of into like a crosshair. And I'm going to option click. Okay. And then I'm going to pay attention to the opacity of my brush. Since this is a pretty plain surface, I can make it kind of high. If I want to adjust my brush, left bracket, right bracket on my keyboard, and I will click. So as you can see, while I'm clicking, you can see above where that X is popping up, and that is the area that is being cloned. Okay. So, depending on the image that you take, right, or the area you're going to clone, or whatever that blemish is that someone wants you to remove, it's going to make a difference what's around it. So, for the clone stamp tool, it's great if you have a good surface around it that you're trying to mimic, as you saw. So that's the clone stamp tool. I'm going to turn this off, and we made a copy. I'm going to turn on my other copy. The other option is, again, if you find yourself with a lot of space that's kind of flat, right? This is flat right now, all flat and blank, which is wonderful. You can create a brand new layer. Let me create a brand new layer right here. Okay, so here's our new layer. And you can get your brush. And what you're going to do is you're going to, if you have your brush tool right here, if you do option, it's going to convert to an eyedropper. Okay, so if it's the eyedropper, you eyedropper and then you click into the color that you want to mimic. Okay, I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger, so right bracket. And I'm just going to brush with that color into that area. So kind of like you're painting. Okay, so in this scenario, you have a layer. Look at my layers. You have a new layer that is just brushed right on top. So if you see that? I turned off that photo layer so you can see what was on that new layer. It's just paint. You're just brushing on top of it to make that blemish disappear. Okay, so you can save. The third option, it's very similar to like this idea of covering things up. I'll turn this pair off, right? And since I made a copy, the third option is if you want to make a mask. Now, making a mask, I don't think it's necessary for this, but I'll show you as just another example. But I'm going to select an area, right? Same premise. This area is very similar to the one down here. So I'm going to pick this layer, select an area, and I'm going to go to edit, copy, and I'm going to do edit, paste. Okay, and it pastes that's like that area that I just copied, right? And as you can see, it's right in the layer above the image that I want. So I'm going to get my move tool, and I'm going to just put it right on top. Now, as you can see, this like the border of that shape is still pretty visible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my mask, and I'm going to add a mask to that layer that's right on top. Okay, and with my mask, right, I can brush with black to make things kind of fade away, or with white to make things reappear. So I'm going to brush with that black color to make it go away, but I'm going to make my opacity a little bit like softer. So it's kind of fades in a little bit better. And I'm going to make my brush just a little bit smaller. And so I make sure that I'm on my layer mask. And I'm just kind of brushing a little bit. Oh, do you see this? You see how you can see that panel? So I'm going to undo Command Z. And I'm going to just make sure I stay very close to the edge. It's pretty good. And you can see that it is now pretty covered up, right? If I turn off my image layer, you can kind of see what that shape looks like with the mask. Certain areas obviously blend into that right color. And then you can save. So any one of these options can be your minus image, right? So if you want to clone, which we did here, right? It was its own layer because you were just using that image itself. If you want to paint or brush on top of it, depending on what area of cloning is available to you, you could do that. Or you can kind of the same principle as the brushing on top, but you can copy and paste an area of the wall or whatever is in your image, and then you can try and mask it out. Okay, so any of these are good for you to save out. So I'm just going to pick the last one, the masking one, and I'm going to make sure that the only layers that are visible are the ones that I want, and I'm going to save it, Command S first, and then I'm going to go to File, Save As. Okay, make sure this is a JPEG. And I'm going to name this minus, save. This is a fine setting, quality is 12. And I still have, it's the same layer document, right? And since these are all of my minus layers, I'm going to select them. So I'll click on one and I'll hold the Shift key. I'll select all of them. And then I will click on this folder, create a new group. So it's all organized. Okay. And save. All right. So got 2 down. 1 more to go. Make sure you save and check out the next video for our multiply. All right. Talk to you soon.